I've run 5 marathons so far, all of them with one clear goal in sight: to make it to the Olympics. Each time getting faster, getting stronger, getting smarter, getting closer to a spot on that GB team in 2028. Seville was my first, and ignorance is bliss, as they say, but a strong debut despite the not so fun positive split. Copenhagen was a dream. Over 5 minutes knocked off my time, a surprise third place finish, and a negative split. Houston was... Do we have to talk about Houston?
You still run a PB.
I ran a 2-second PB. Berlin. I really lost some confidence from the Houston Marathon, but boy, did I build it back up with this race. My fastest time yet, my first major, a half marathon PB en route in the second half, and at the time, 9th fastest Brit all time, and an Olympic qualifying time to boot, albeit a few months too late. And then London. The crowds were sick. I ran my fastest first half of a marathon. Yeah, it kind of sucked a little bit. And I ran my second slowest time ever. And now, right now, I'm preparing to run marathon number 6. I have a few points to prove, but the mission remains the same. This marathon is the accumulation of them all. It is the marathon to end all marathons. No, that's not quite right. It's gonna be really freaking fast. I'd quite like to restart my PB streak. Thank you very much. The goal is just to get a little bit stronger, hopefully a little bit faster, learn a little bit more, and get closer to reaching that goal. Chicago, I'm coming for you. I have known that my next marathon is going to be the Chicago Marathon for quite some weeks now. It feels pretty cool to finally be able to share that with you, and I am into the meat of this training block. Right now, the Chicago Marathon is just over 8 weeks away, and when this video comes out, it's going to be 7 weeks away. That's not that long. And one of the reasons I knew I was doing Chicago for such a long time is because after London, I knew exactly what I wanted from my next marathon. I wanted it to be this year because redemption doesn't wait around. I wanted it to be fast, so I knew I wanted a flat course that lends itself towards running a fast time, and I knew I wanted to do a race I hadn't done before. Chicago came up amongst a few other options, and it felt like the right call. I'm gonna be doing my 3rd major, which is really exciting. 3rd major in a row, actually. Should I just keep doing majors until I finish them and then crack on with some other races? Let me know what you think in the comments. If enough people are like, Phily, you gotta complete the majors now, you're 3 in, you might as well keep going, might consider it.
Just do it!
And in terms of fast marathons that are built to deliver fast times, I don't think there's much disputing that Chicago is as good as it gets. There's obviously a lot of fast marathons out there. Berlin is incredible. Valencia is practically set up to run fast times, but both of the marathon world records, both men's and women's, were set in Chicago. Whether you dispute those records or not, not getting into that today, they were run at Chicago. Why am I so motivated to run on a fast course, to run a fast time? Well, I think it's kind of obvious. We all want to run fast, don't we? I think there's a lot to be learned and a lot of value in running a marathon that perhaps isn't the fastest course and actually competing against the athletes around you. For example, New York. People run really fast times at Boston, but that course is brutal. But after London and feeling like I wasn't quite able to deliver a performance that reflected the shape that I was in, I wanted to give myself the best chance of doing that in my next marathon. Having a really fast course, it's pretty helpful. And going back to what I said a few weeks ago when I was talking about that dream, that ultimate goal to get on that Olympic team in LA 2028, I need to get faster. The Olympic qualifying time is gonna keep getting faster. My competitors around me are gonna keep getting faster, and I need to do the same if I want to keep up and if I want to be in with a chance of getting on that team. It's not about running the Olympic qualifying time now. I don't even know what the Olympic qualifying time is gonna be for 28, and the qualifying window is not open, but I need to be chipping away and honing my craft, gaining experience in these races, competing against people that are better than me, to try and better myself. It's very easy as athletes, and I've seen this in amateurs as well, to think about just the moment that you're in now, just the training block that is happening right this moment and the next race, and that being the most important thing. And don't get me wrong, it is really important, and those little 1% and doing your best within this 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is, it's also really important to zoom out. And that's why I am linking the reasons I'm doing this race, the goals for this race, to that bigger picture. Because it's not like I'm gonna run the Chicago Marathon and achieve all my goals and be done and walk away from the sport. There is a much bigger picture here. It's even bigger than LA in 2028. It goes beyond that. I want to have a very long and successful career. And whenever I'm picking these races, the marathons, the big sort of check bookmarks, if you like, they have to align with that bigger picture. After Chicago, it might not be a fast course and aiming for another PB. It might be throwing myself into a horrendously hilly race and seeing how well I can roll with those punches and battling the athletes around me, because maybe that'll be the next most important thing for me to work on. And hopefully I can do a little bit of that in Chicago as well. There's going to be some incredible athletes on the line. There's going to be a lot of bodies around me, and as well as running my own race, trying to run a PB, get a little bit faster, learn more about myself and this event that I have only done 5 times so far. It's about racing as well. It's another opportunity to race people around me, and when you're shooting for a spot on an Olympic team, that's something that comes into it as well, because there's only 3 spots to represent your country. You got to be better than at least everyone else, bar 2. One of the other things that I really love about doing a race I've never done before, running a marathon I've never run before in a new place, is getting to see the place. So if any of you have run Chicago or visited Chicago, live in Chicago, if you've got any food recommendations, anything that you think I should go and see after the race, obviously I'm going to be resting up and just being a nervous wreck in my hotel room beforehand, but send me your recommendations for after the race. If you've been here since the start of the year, you probably followed some of the training for the London Marathon block, and I'm going to get into what is going to be the same and what is going to be different this time around when comparing to London, and we're going to ask Jon his opinion as well. But first, I'm hungry. Chef?
Yes, ma'am.
I require food.
Burrito.
Are you fake cooking? Let us eat. Obviously, every marathon block that you do is different, whether you decide it needs to be different or not, because things come up, different things happen, and this marathon block is no exception. We have already had our fair share of drama. I've ticked the box of getting sick already, having COVID just a few weeks in, and then I had a tumble on the trail and couldn't run for a few days, which you may have seen. I am doing much better now, and I'm running. Thankfully, the show is back on the road, but small fires get started and you have to put them out. Sometimes that's the big challenge of the marathon block, is all of the unknown curveballs that are thrown your way, and it's how you react to them, how you respond to them, and how you keep going and play that juggling act between still training and managing whatever the issue is that's come up. Which leads me on to the first thing that I want to be different about this block comparing to the London Marathon block, which is going to be quite a big difference if I can pull it off. That's a mindset shift. I don't think my mindset was bad during the London block, but I think it could have been better. And specifically, I am talking about being quite obsessive about my training, wanting everything to be perfect, getting really quite stressed when it's not, or when something comes up that throws me off course, and being quite hard on myself when it doesn't go well. Whether that's a workout not going to plan, missing a session for whatever reason. Jon said something really relevant the other day, which is cortisol is cortisol, right? That's a stress hormone. Whether you are stressed because you have a bear chasing you and that cortisol is very, very needed and useful at that time, or whether you're stressed because you are sat thinking about how bad the training session just went and how that's going to mean that the rest of this block is going to go badly. That is stress as well, and that has a negative impact on the body, on the training, when it kind of tips over the edge. So I'm just going to try and chill out a little bit more. That sounds a little bit vague, but I have sat down with my sports psych to talk about this and think of ways that we can sort of measure whether I am actually doing this. And so the way we are measuring whether Phily is chilling out more is not aiming for perfect, okay? The goal for this training block is to be on average B+. That's it. That's not perfect. It's not A-star, but aiming for that so that I don't beat myself up on a day that is a little bit of a miss and the grade is maybe a C. If I had an A- earlier on in that week, fantastic. We have averaged B+. That is all we need to do. And I honestly believe if I can be on average B+ all the way through this block until Chicago, I'm going to be in a really good spot, because it's really easy to look back on past results, like Berlin, for example, the race going better than we could have hoped, and then to let that kind of warp your memory of the training block and think, you know, that race went perfectly. So the training block was obviously perfect as well, so I need to be aiming for perfection. That training block was far from perfect. Not only was it shortened because I dropped in after running like 30 miles a week at the end of a track season. Yes, I had some fitness behind me from a track season, but it wasn't the aerobic strength that I kind of needed to build up and rely on. I also got a poison ivy rash, had a minor mental breakdown leading into Falmouth, and freaked out in one of my last sessions that I had a stress fracture in my femur, which turned out to be a quad strain, but it was fine. So that's what I'm trying to remind myself. It doesn't need to be perfect, and stressing out because it's not perfect makes it worse. And if I really take a step back and park the deep desire that I do still want to be perfect, although I am, rational brain telling myself B+ is fine. The last few weeks haven't been perfect. Picked up an illness, I picked up a little injury, I've come back from that, and I'm okay. Training's going okay. It's probably B+. And whilst I don't know exactly what the next few weeks will entail, it's almost as if the present is a great reminder that you can put out those fires and still be fine. And speaking of the next few weeks, in terms of physically, what are the building blocks of this training block? What is it going to look like? I spoke to Jon a few weeks ago and he told me,
Phily, I think the London training block was perfect. I think it was great. And so basically, we're just going to repeat that. It's going to be effectively the same.
And he told a lie, because I sat down with him to talk about this training block, and while some of it is the same, some of it is quite different. To be honest, it scares me a little bit, but I'm wrapping my head around it. I trust Jon. After we had the chat last week, Daniel gave him a mini grilling just for you guys.
So what are we changing from the London block to this block?
Biggest thing we're changing is adding in a little bit of density with things.
Density with it as well.
Other than that, there's a few newish workouts. If anything, it's just twists on previous workouts. So nothing massive, right? And kind of what we were speaking about before was everything is going to be modified based off of how she's feeling and how we're handling things, whether it's from a fatigue standpoint, a temperature. Obviously it's hot in Arizona right now, and kind of everything in between, and just making sure that we're kind of maximizing the amount of density that we can get in these weeks leading into Chicago. I don't know if I can say.
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay. Well, I figured you were gonna bleep earlier and not use it, so that's what I was like.
Explain a little bit more about these extra sessions what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so on Thursdays, we're looking to get an extra session, whether it's going to be an uphill tempo or some 200s. Again, I told Philly this is in writing a build. I've done this a while ago already of writing this build. Things have already come up and we're trying to adjust on the fly already right now. And that's where, just because I wrote it a month ago doesn't mean it's going to be good a month from now. And so as of right now, it's looking like uphill tempos and some 200s are going to be kind of a routine add-in on Thursdays, but she's never done uphill tempos before. So we're just going to play it by ear and be smart about it. If she's not liking them, whether from a mental side of things or from a physiology standpoint, then we're not going to know, and that's okay. Right? And we might add in a little bit of density in long runs or elsewhere, and that's okay. This is, and I kind of phrased it to Philly about this, is like, it's kind of an experiment in the sense it's a unique experiment for her of how she reacts to it, and we're gonna adjust based off of that.
What is the purpose of adding that more density?
Yeah, we're just trying to get more aerobic work in. That's the goal. Just more aerobic base. How do we become stronger? How do we become better? Each workout, whether it's uphill tempos or 200s, has its own, unique benefit or side benefits, as you will, to it. But yeah, it's kind of cool.
In the last block for London, you were so excited about the density and hitting with big mileage weeks. Do you have the same excitement for this block?
Yes and no. I'm not excited right now because I feel like the last couple of weeks has just kind of dented my confidence in my body and just trusting that it's gonna be able to do this. But if it can, then yes, I would be then excited.
Jon, are you excited about the block?
Yeah, I mean, Philly's apprehension is something that we were talking about earlier, of this idea that being nervous about something that is unknown is kind of a little bit pointless, especially how we work through a build. The way we work through a build is based off of how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, on a month-to-month basis, right? And we're not gonna do anything that's stupid, right? If the density or the uphill tempos of the 200s aren't working well, that's fine, because I know we're gonna be able to accomplish what we want out of it. Even if, we have to modify it, that's still fine because we're taking steps forward. And so her lack of confidence now is really not a big deal for me at all, because I know that it's gonna come down the line and we're gonna be able to get what we need out of the build and show up on race day at Chicago ready to rip.
Something I've learned from the ups and downs of 5 marathon blocks and 5 times racing the distance is the marathon owes you nothing. You can have the best build of your life, be in the shape to have a breakthrough performance, check every box you can, and believe it's going to happen, and it might not come off. You can also go into it so nervous that you undersell yourself and the result actually surprises you. Ultimately, this sport requires a little bit of luck alongside a lot of hard work, both physical and mental. And I think if I can finish the Chicago Marathon and look back on this training block and be able to say, I had fun, I grew as an athlete, and I tried my best, I think I should be happy with that. Is that happiness gonna be exponentially amplified if I also see a number that I approve of on that clock when I cross the finish line? Absolutely. But this isn't my last dance. I don't need to put the pressure on every single marathon I run as if it defines me and what happens next, because it doesn't. Of course, I want so badly to have a positive race and to be able to share that with everyone around me who puts so much work into this. But I also have to absolutely be okay with that not being the case, because there are no guarantees. And I think truly accepting that could be really freeing. And if I make mistakes, great. Let's learn from them and come back. The next few weeks is about working hard on the roads, chipping away and getting stronger in the gym, recovering in between all of that, and being a fair critic rather than tearing myself down. And also remembering to have fun along the way. That, for me, feels like an approach that is not only gonna serve me well for this marathon, but for many, many more still to come. And that's loving the grind. That's all we gotta do. It's simple.